Hey, 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 hey. Welcome to another episode of Superhero Deep Dive I hope you guys have had a great week. I am your host Jason, and I am actually going to be continuing from last week's episode. So, before I get into it, let me give my normal disclaimers and all that good stuff. So, the information pulled from for this hero is pulled from different sources across the internet and may or may not be completely complete, but they do give a really good insight on the current superhero. Like I always say, there are some stories that may have impact on the character, but I don't feel like it changes their actual, like the essence of the character that much. So I sometimes don't include those. Um, Sometimes it's really hard to add stuff in and out, simply because it makes it really hard to keep up with who the character is. So yes, let's do this deep dive. And as always, if you have any comments, questions, critiques, request for new superheroes to be covered, anything like that, any topics you want to discuss, please feel free to reach out to me. You can reach me on Twitter at superdeepdive and use the hashtag superherodeepdive. Um, if you are listening to me on your favorite podcast network, I want to thank you. You can always reach out to me on Twitter, like I said, or you can use my email address at the number 4, it all at yahoo.com. If you're listening to me on Outworld Fleet Radio, which airs every Tuesday and Thursday throughout the day, with multiple episodes, I want to welcome you. You can reach out to me, like I said, on Twitter or my email. This part of the program wasn't planned out very well. And if you are watching the slideshow on YouTube and listening to the podcast on YouTube, feel free to reach out to me with all those. And you can also leave a comment in the section below. So, yeah, let's do it. All I ask is just you keep everything respectful, because that's kind of like a good thing to do. But yeah, so this week I am going to be talking about Penance, which there was a mutant named Penance in the X-Men universe, but I'm not talking about them. I am actually talking about Speedball's second superhero identity called Penance. So what had happened was Speedball got in this lab accident. He got kinetic field. All this is covered in the last episode. If I have to recap it, then you haven't listened to it. Go listen to the last episode. It's okay. This one will be here waiting for you when you get back. I promise. And because it's not live. Not yet, at least. But when Speedball, like, he was responsible for the comic book version of the Civil War, which was the original. And he was chasing after a villain named Nitro. Nitro has the ability to blow himself up and kind of reform. So he blew himself up and killed a bunch of kids and a bunch of people. I think it was like 612 people, and like 60 of them were kids. So he killed a lot of people, and Speedball was the only survivor, and he kind of felt responsible because it was his actions that led them to jump in and try to do this. So, that kind of sucks, but you have to do what you have to do sometimes, right? I mean, hindsight's always 2020. But so this is where I'm going to be taking off from. So his name is still Robbie Baldwin. So Speedball at this time, he was found alive after getting blown up by Nitro. Like, he was thrown miles away. His powers apparently burned out. The media and the authorities made him the scapegoat for the Stanford disaster, which sparked widespread anti-superhero sentiment and prompted the passing of a law requiring superheroes to register with the authorities. See, so it's just like Age of Ultron, only this happened first. The government decided to make an example of Robbie, holding him without bail or trial while he was abused repeatedly by both guards and fellow inmates. And this is kind of interesting. He was abused by guards and inmates because what he was being blamed for crossed the line of even some of the worst supervillains. They were like, this is messed up even for me. So he was getting picked on, and you never know with the guards, like if they have any relatives or if they were just sympathetic to the plight. Like they may not have had relatives in these that were involved in the Stanford incident, but they may have known someone that had a child, and they may have had a child that was killed unnecessarily by stuff as like quote unquote collateral damage. So it's really hard to it's really hard at that point to find someone that's diplomatic, even just even neutral on it, because this affected so many people in such a hard way. um so yeah, he was getting beaten by everyone. His secret identity was leaked to the press. He was hated by the public. He was disowned by his parents, and after he refused to admit to any wrongdoing, Robbie was offered a deal. He would be released if he became a government-registered superhero, helped train other super agents, and hunting down the unauthorized superheroes. Robbie turned down the deal repeatedly on principle, and was later shot by a guy named Mr. Stricker, whose daughter had died at Stanford. So he was being transported, and the guy came and shot him. Narrowly surviving, Robbie soon discovered that he still had his energy powers, but they were now, instead of fueled by bouncing off of something, they were fueled by his own physical pain. When he was shot, there were actually bullet fragments lodged in his spine that were unoperable. Inoperable is the right word. So they couldn't be operated on. They were stuck there. So it caused him constant pain, which helped bring his powers back. This situation kind of knocked a screw loose in him, made him unhinged, and he just kind of had a mental breakdown with it a little bit. And he was constantly haunted by the guilt regarding his role in the Stanford disaster. So Robbie did actually agree to register after foiling a jailbreak by several super criminals. His only request was that Mr. Stricker, the guy who shot him, be pardoned in exchange for his registration. That takes a lot. That takes a lot. That is crazy guilt that you're feeling, and crazy forgiveness. So that's nuts. No longer caring about anything except making himself suffer, Robbie also agreed to become a hero-hunting government super agent. Overcome by guilt and driven insane by his treatment, Baldwin offers, which is Robbie's Speedball, he orders a new suit of armor that features 612 internal spikes in honor of the victims of the explosion in Stanford to trigger his powers. 60 of the spikes are larger than the rest, and they represent the children who perished in the blast. Baldwin rechrists himself Penance, and is assigned to the team, the Thunderbolts. And the Thunderbolts is just one of those, at this time, it was kind of like a government-sponsored team. Now, after the events of the Civil War, Penance joins Norman Osborn's new government-sponsored Thunderbolts team. Now, Norman Osborn was the Green Goblin, so you have to kind of remember this. He's not all there in the head either. But he's part of the Thunderbolts team, which mostly comprises of supervillains who are being forced to reform. Now, when we say they're being forced to reform, they kind of took a page out of the Suicide Squad from DC Comics, where they put a little bomb in their heads. Something like that. They had to do this, or else their heads would blow up. So, It's just one of those things. Um, on one of the team's first missions, Osborn sends Bullseye and Penance to deal with a vigilante named Americop. Bullseye forces Baldwin to use his powers to cripple the vigilante, or to cripple Americop, and after finding out that Osborn gave the order to Bullseye to do this, Baldwin or Penance destroys an expensive one-of-a-kind eavesdropping device of Osborn's, while reminding his boss that unlike many of the other Thunderbolts, he has no failsafe devices in him to force his compliance. So that was pretty cool. He's like, I'm here because I choose to be here, not because you're making me be here. So that's pretty cool. And that's kind of like the history of him in this, or his info. He's done some other stuff. Later on, he kind of reforms and gets back into a speedball outfit. And he would like cut himself if he needed to use the penance powers. That way he has access to them. But I mean, this is a man that, he, by all rights, he wasn't fully responsible for what happened. But at the same time, if he wasn't as impulsive, if he had thought things through a little bit better, things wouldn't have happened the way they did. So it's just one of those things where he was kind of in a no-win situation, and it really backfired on him. But he did everything that he could. So his powers. So after the events of Stanford, Penance believed his powers to be burned out. However, they still exist, but now only manifest when he feels pain. While his powers are still kinetically based, they no longer appear to manifest as a bubble field. Instead, his powers are more explosive in nature. Like, in order to stimulate his powers, his Penance suit constantly rakes his flesh. Baldwin tolerates this to a misogynistic degree, when stating that he would, if he could, he would wear the suit all the time. Because he learned to accept the pain. And by wearing the suit, he has developed a natural tolerance to pain. His suit consists of 612 spikes facing inward, each to represent a person who lost their lives in Stanford, and 60 of them or longer to represent the children. Okay. Penance can achieve a variety of effects with his powers. The most commonly used are explosive energy blasts from his hands, which he is capable of firing them from any part of his body via the conduits on his spikes. He can create storm-like fields of energy around him, capable of harming those around him and smashing objects. He can focus the energy on parts of his body, often in his hands, to give him like power punches. He can also engulf himself in an energy force field, which gives him a degree of invulnerability and allows him to levitate off the ground. So that's pretty cool. I mean, his powers evolved a lot with this, so that's pretty nuts. That's pretty nuts. Let's see here. Penance's powers are constantly evolving, and his original speedball powers are shown to be returning to him as well. Penance no longer needs the Penance suit to activate his powers, but chose to wear it for a time to help remedy the guilt he feels, as well as for the benefits to his powers. And the thing about his suit was that it was a blessing and a curse. And I'm not talking about just the memory aspect of it. I'm talking about the functionality. Like, the suit had spikes inside, so it was constantly raking his skin, constantly giving him pain. The bad thing about that is, or the good thing about it is that, it made his powers readily available, and it kept increasing his powers because he was in that constant pain. The bad thing is he started developing a a fondness for pain, and a tolerance. And the bad thing is with that is that the more you tolerate pain, the more harsh the pain needs to be for you to actually feel it. Like to some people, you know, they may like a shoulder massage. I am one of those people that cannot stand to be massaged. I'm a naturally tense person, and if you massage me, it ends up hurting me. So, people respond to that physical stimulus differently. So if I get enough shoulder massages, and I'm not asking for one, so if my wife is listening to this, I'm not asking you for a shoulder massage. I'm just saying if I get enough, I'd probably like it. But then I wouldn't have. I don't know. I mean, it's just you don't get the same comfort level. So then it wouldn't cause me pain. So if I had powers based on that, it wouldn't work. I'm explaining it in a very terrible way and confusing way, and I'm sorry about that. I hope you can pick up what I'm putting down though, because it's interesting. The character is interesting with this. Like he's got all this guilt. He's got all this guilt, and he had to actually come to a place where he could start to forgive himself. Which is a journey unto itself, which is crazy because how many of us hold on to things in the past? Simply because it happened. And we end up in a lot of ways we stop our own growth because we're holding on to something. I know that there are things in my past that have been really hard for me to get over. And this is not the forum to discuss it. It's just saying that we all have it. We all have those kind of inner demons. And sometimes it's really hard to get past that. So kudos to you, Penance. Kudos to you. And now what we're going to do is we are going to kind of go into what I call my favorite part. It's the power expansion. Like how would we see this character? Is it in a animated series, a new comic series, movies, television shows, something on Disney Plus? What would you want to do? What would you want to do with this character? And before I give my things, I want to know what you guys think. So leave a comment down below if you're watching on YouTube. Send me a message on Twitter. You can write on my wall. It's superherodeepdive. Either one is fine. I do get private messages more often than regular ones. The only ones I can think of, the only reason I can think of for that is maybe because people don't want to be, I guess maybe criticized by other comic fans for not knowing something or asking a question or trying to, maybe trying to correct me on something, and it turns out that maybe they were wrong. I mean, there's lots of reasons why people would want to keep things private. So you're more than welcome to send me a DM if you want. Or you can email me directly at b4itall@yahoo.com. So, yeah. But power expansions. With the Speedball episode last week, I wanted to go into like an animated series, but I wanted it geared towards like young adults, kind of like how the Invincible series is. There's a lot to it, and I think that this would be a perfect extension of it, especially since it's the same character. Give it a season or two of his younger days, and then have something, and it doesn't have to be the Stanford incident. It can be something similar to it, or it can be the Stanford incident, but it doesn't have to be the Superhuman Registration Act, because that was covered in the Avengers. But it could be something really, really devastating that he has some kind of responsibility for. And then have it be like one or two seasons of the series based on him being Penance, how he's coping with it, how he grows, how his powers have matured. And then, you can do like the final season or whatever, where he evolves back into Speedball. And but this time he's not the same Speedball as before. He's more mature. He makes better decisions. He's just a better superhero all around. Like my reasoning behind it is like, look, this guy got impulsive. He made a huge mistake, and he basically, as far as the comic world goes, he basically set the world on fire as we know it. He got attacked by his victim's family, and then after that, he asked them to be pardoned because he felt that guilt. He kind of understood where they were coming from. He grew as a greater hero because of that guilt. So I think that all of this, his beginnings from that goofy guy that just bounces off of walls, to seeing his powers develop a little bit, and then he goes and, he takes a step back, as we all do. Let's be realistic. We've all made progress in things in our lives, and then we've taken a step back. In some way, we've stumbled. So he's done that, and then he's kind of picked himself up and grew. He went from one extreme to the other. He was super happy-go-lucky, really animated. Then he went to being very morose, and very dark, and now he's kind of found a balance between the two. And I think that's pretty cool. In fact, I think that this may be the only character that I know of that has fully evolved in comic books. Let's think about it. We can take Spider-Man, who's grown a lot. He was this bumbling, nerdy kid. He had a lot happen. He's gotten married. He's gotten divorced. I don't know if he's still married at this point. I don't know what that situation is, but I do know that he still has a lot of one-liners. He's still kind of that comedic relief. He's done a lot. But he hasn't evolved a whole lot. Like, his character now is not so terribly different than when he started. We can take Batman. Batman's always been the same character. He's had hardships, which has made him get harder, but he's always been that same character. Superman's always been that same character. Captain America, even. For the most part, same character. I can't think of anyone that has actually grown up and evolved. We can even go Nightwing. Nightwing, he's grown and he's evolved from Robin, but he still makes a lot of those little jokes. He still makes a lot of that thing. And, to me, he hasn't evolved as much. He's evolved about as much as Spider-Man. This guy has gone to hell and back, So, he's completely changed as a person from one extreme to another and found a balance between them. Just as any functioning adult would. It's a superhero tale, but the character behind it, the trauma and stuff, it's very real life, and how I would think it's handled. I would say that as far as character development goes, he's a better example of character development than almost any other superhero out there. What do you guys think? Let me know. I always liked Speedball, but then I just stopped caring about him. But the more I did research on him, I was like, wow, this guy has got layers upon layers to him. This is amazing. And I'd love to get you guys' take on it. How do you feel about this? Let me know. shoot me a message on Twitter at superdeepdive and use the hashtag superherodeepdive. Talk Nerdy to Me Network. It's TN, or hold on. Yeah, TN2Mnet, I believe, on Instagram. And they post up links, all the time. And each week they post up a link to advertise the show. So leave a comment there. Like, what do you guys think? I am anxious to hear what you guys have as far as input goes. So let me know. I'm gonna call it for now. If you're watching on YouTube, thank you so much. Like, subscribe, share it, whatever you need to do. Leave comments. Because I'd like to get your information too. And what I was thinking of is maybe one day trying to start a Twitch channel and do a couple live streams with audience participation, audience interaction. So I'm kind of anxious to get you guys' feedback on that. Let me know. In the meantime, I'm going to head out. I think next week I'm going to stay in Marvel for now. I heard that Namorita is coming soon to the MCU universe. So I think next week I am going to be focusing on Namorita, and that should just about cover almost all of the new Warriors at that point. I know I'm missing a couple, and I just didn't want to touch on them yet. But yeah, I think next week I'm going to do Namorita. So be on the lookout for that. In the meantime, everyone be safe, be blessed, be happy, be smart. And if you're not smart, don't get caught. All right, I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.